ex-wife got our son a dog.
Yeah.
And she goes, what? I said, well, great, what's the name of the dog? And she goes, I think we're going to call her Ruth. I said, no, you're not going to call the dog Ruth. That's a lovely name, but it's not a dog.
Yes, it is.
I said, Bella. Just call her Bella. And that's her name. They took the name.
Oh, you're kidding.
She was like, yeah, that's good.
Oh, that's
so the
so,
dog's name.
that's so funny. So we got another Bella.
Yeah.
Whose
My
dog?
son's dog.
Yeah. Oh, your son's dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
She goes, her wife was going to call the dog Ruth.
I
He
said,
said, that's not the name for a dog. And I said, yes, it is.
well, it could
Because
be,
when
but
we go on Broadway, there's Claude, there's, Arnie.
Oh,
I mean,
the street Broadway.
Everybody has so humanized.
yes,
I know. My next door,
Yes,
if I
right.
on the line,
There-
get another door, it's going to be Betty.
Eddie the dog. But even Betty, even
That's what I wanted to call her, but then I changed it.
even Betty is a good dog. I mean,
I like Betty. I like Betty.
Ruth is like
And
that's
Ruth has
that's great.
such a character too.
It's true. So if you have a dog like that, then name it Ruth. But the problem is when you're naming dogs, you don't know their character yet.
Yeah.
You haven't quite figured it out, like a person.
They work into it.
Bella was always cool.
That's
Yeah.
true. They do work.
She's going to stay right under you while you're talking. There'll be no barking.
This is a bark-free zone. But I do want to introduce right at our feet.
Bella.
She'll let you in here.
Okay. I like being ignored. Good.
All right.
All right.
Do you want me here,
Yes.
honey?
Is that all right, or do you?
Do you want to sit here and take this off?
I can sit there. I can sit over here. If you
Wherever
want.
you want.
Doesn't really matter to me.
Wherever you want. I like a.
How about
Yeah, down there might be good that way. You can hear me, but I'm off mic.
Okay, and the mic is on, just so you know. So move that closer to you. Let me just turn up
this is
the
like
volume.
a big clown's nose.
That's right. You got it. That's right. Perfect. That's,
And
that's
it's it's high for me. I'm small.
Oh,
Let
no,
me
move it
get
down a little. You can
What is
do
it?
this, Lee. This is pivotal. You can pivot this.
Yeah.
Or not. That's not the right word. I was going to say you can just turn the mic down like this.
Yeah, but
It's on a
because this is
pivot.
I feel
It's
too
on a.
little
What would you call this? But you can.
with the table.
I'm more interested in you moving it a
This
little.
is better.
Yeah, that's good. So excited. This is great. This has been in the works for a few months now, but which is
How
typical.
come?
I think it's just typical thing of schedules. I don't know. But I don't really. That's okay too. We're in. Let me just say
What is it?
Oh. The sound?
Yeah.
the people
They're
talking.
on the street.
Don't worry about it. There's always something in the background because I do the show in New York City, so the sirens and the what other noises, honking and all
So
those
what is-
murders.
what is the
those are all
show-
the soundtrack of
So
Filmwax.
what is this show
Yes.
about? And
Yeah.
what is a podcast?
Okay, you've done them already, and you don't know yet. You did Frank and Gilbert's show.
Oh, and that
They're
was so
friends.
much fun. But I had no idea that it wasn't on film.
Oh, I see.
I
Oh,
had
they taped
no
it too.
idea.
Did they record it on video? Rather.
No.
So, when you got because
It
you
was-
were home.
Huh?
You were home. You weren't there in the studio, right? You were
No,
remote.
here. It
You were.
was here.
They did it all on the
yeah,
computer.
we sat around them.
Did they come to your home?
Yeah.
Too? Oh, I see. Anyway, or I'm going to explain it. Let's see. So, hell, I don't know. No, so you.
Forget it.
No,
Fuck
we're
it.
going to record this. This is how I'm going to explain it
Yeah.
very easily. And we're going to, when it's finished, I do a little editing, and then it's going to be a file, right? An audio file, like an MP3 file, like a song. Same idea. It'll be a computer file. And you can play it it'll be our show. That will go on a website, and then people can play it off there. So that's what a podcast is.
It's radio.
It's just a radio. It's the same idea.
Yeah.
It's just that instead of it being on, a separate machine, it's just done over computer or whatever you're playing. You can now do it over here. Of course, that's what actually podcasts have blown up because of the smartphone. That's why.
I don't have one.
Good for you.
I am not smart. I am very, very dumb in that area.
Well,
As Taylor is my brain in those
in that
areas.
regard.
He is.
Yeah. Well,
He is.
I I don't want to get all existential so quickly, but I could say I think it is. I don't mean to be a cranky old guy, but I think it is. It was not a good thing because I'm seeing like people all the time walking now and not looking. They're just looking on their phone as they're walking across the street, and it's like a tuning. I was walking down the sidewalk. This is the last of it. I promise you. I don't want to spend my little time talking about this stuff, but I was walking down the street today in the village. And, the sidewalks are relatively narrow down there. Anyway, and there was a woman who had her suitcase. She was standing in the middle of the sidewalk on her phone, just talking. She wasn't walking, at least, but she was standing. And I was like, it's whatever it is.
It's like they're in a pod.
Yeah. Well,
no,
yes,
but they are. They're like
right. They're insulated,
enclosed in this egg.
Yeah, and I think I don't think they're bad. People that do it are bad by any stretch. I think it's just too strong of an attraction to whatever they're experiencing or whatever they need to experience on the phone that they can't avoid it.
It's the experience is spurious. The experience is small. The experience is lipstick. It's a chat.
Right.
That they're having. They're not having an experience.
No.
It's a chat. It's right. How's your hair? How's my hair? What time are you going to have dinner? It's not an experience where there's an emotion. It's bringing a life experience down to the minimal, pennies, dimes, nickels.
I understand, but then how do you explain it? The phenomenon where many people
I just hate it. I can't explain it.
Well, I don't like it either, and when I'm walking with my son, I forbid him to do that, and hopefully he'll understand why.
But the poor little boy is born into this world,
right? With now, it's true. I think it's a detriment. Hopefully there'll be a change. I mean, a swing.
It's like back to books, those ancient chronicles of our lives that we used to get at Barnes and Noble and read
independent
through.
Stores.
It's like whatever happened to.
But I feel like since you brought up books, I'm sitting across from a tome of so much information. I know, it's not polite to mention someone's age, but you've been around long enough where you have so many experiences, and your mind is sharp and 100%. Of what it was. I don't know what compared to somebody else. I'm just kidding. I'm just joking around. I was just saying you have so much information and so much experience, a wealth of information to share over so many years that
I don't
it's fantastic.
What's it called, Taylor? What's the thing when you lose your memory?
Dementia?
Yeah.
My mom has
Thank God. Yeah. Thank God. I'm 91.
Yeah.
And there are people around me who have been pulled down into this murk. And the tragedy of the loved ones around them is unspeakable and unexplainable. Mm-hmm. And to see someone's head disappear into that pool and lose them and still have them alive is, I think, the worst torture that I can imagine. And since we're living longer, well, certainly look at me, it's something which enters a family's life, every other family.
That's right.
It's really, such a living loss.
It's
a living
right.
loss.
You're in this. You're in a limbo. It's a horrible thing where you can't really move forward, you can't find closure. With it.
Whether we're talking about this or not, I just wanted you to see.
Yes.
That. Well, I'm not going to mention it. This shouldn't be on the air.
Okay.
That Ronnie Rifkin, who was our great friend.
Oh no. Don't tell
me. And Iva, his wife.
Okay, she has it?
She's gone.
Yeah,
she's gone.
But Ron is okay?
Done, that's the picture of Iva. Instead of being this, slim, sleek, smart little ballerina that she was, she's gone. He visits her every day.
Right, my dad. It's my dad. He's visits
No.
No, my dad is the one who's okay. It's my mother that's the one who's gone. She's got she's very advanced now. So she's in a facility where they're taking good care of her. But
Well, and
thank
Iva
goodness.
too.
But it's my dad. He's he.
But
this
you,
was
you.
and me too. Yeah,
You,
Yeah.
your mother.
yeah. You sit there and you hold her hand and you just think, just give me 5 seconds back, just 5 seconds, and then it can go back to this. You just want to have that because you finally get to you didn't ever have an opportunity to sort of have a moment, that last moment where you said, you did a great job, I love you, whatever, you were a great mother, and you don't have that. It's robs you of so much. It's
I missed that too. I never had the
Right.
chance to tell my mother
Mhm.
that she was a great mother too. And that was because I was directing, I was working, and didn't get to her in time when she was dying. So, that's something that we all share, that you never got to tell the people who raised you what a terrific job they did, and how close they were and are to you. I keep pictures of all my dead friends in this apartment. I'll show them to you later. And it's a way of fighting death for me. And I lost them, they were in their 30s, they were in their 40s. They, it was the height of the drug thing in Malibu, where all my, beautiful friends got killed or went under or had AIDS or, And the thing that's in your heart that says, fuck this, it didn't happen. They're still here. Is something I always have hung on to. Maybe it's my way of fighting death.
Mm-hmm.
Saying,
Yeah.
they're here. I pass them every day. I see them every day. But, I'm up there now. I'm up there. And Joey and Phyllis. Joey is my husband. Phyllis is my sister-in-law. And she lives here with us. And they're twins. And they have a birthday tomorrow.
Oh, wow. Uh-oh.
And
Yes.
they're going to be 80.
Oh, okay.
They're going from 79 to 80.
That's a big deal.
And my next birthday, I'm going to be 92.
Yeah.
So
When is that?
I've
Oh, I
always
can
been
see
like the older woman in our relationship. So, he's the kid. He's going from 79 to 80.
Well, I read your book,
Yeah.
which was really great. I mean, what a powerful book you wrote,
Thank you.
It must have been really difficult to write this.
It was not difficult. It was like it was sitting there inside me and so needed to come up.
Okay.
And Taylor's mother, Roberta, who I've known since she was 17, something in Malibu, she sat with me because I only write by hand. I only pen writing. And she transferred it into typing so that it went into another form altogether and could be shown to somebody who publishes. And so it came out of me like a diary. And then she transformed it into a book.
Did you just? It was all there. You remembered all the
Everything.
you wow.
It was like it just all over 4 years though. It just
sure.
poured out. It was like it needed to just come out of me.
Yeah. Are you proud of it?
Huh?
Is this? Are you
Yes,
something you're-
yes. I'm very, very proud of it. I wouldn't read it because, I still have the memories and they're fresh in a different way.
Sure.
So I don't want to read myself because it's still happening.
I understand.
Yeah.
In fact, you could write. I mean, I think you could have written several books. I mean, frankly.
Well, I am writing.
You are. Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I am.
You should. 'Cause
Yes.
People listening, it's called I Said Yes to Everything. It is, and it's, whoopsie, it's published by Blue Rider Press, but it's not a Hollywood memoir. This is far more than that. This is, it's just a life lived and many chapters to it. Like, it's not just a Hollywood memoir is my point. You've gone through so many different experiences. I more than almost anybody I know, I've read about you. You've had so many different chapters in your life. So I could just imagine you'd have tons to write about anyway. This is sort of the macro version in a way. This is like the overall version with anecdotes and stories from throughout your life. But I mean, you could just write a book just about your blacklisted years. I mean, for instance. You could.
Well, I do, in a way. I mean, the blacklist experience, I graduated high school and went right into the neighborhood playhouse. I didn't go to college. And I was not the brightest kid on the block in high school. A boyfriend had to get me through algebra. I never would have gotten out of high school. So the blacklist experience came after learning to act at the neighborhood playhouse. Learning to act was my life. It gave me purpose. It gave me an outlet. It gave me everything. And as I was proceeding to act and having the beginning of a very, very successful career, I met a man who was being blacklisted, and I spoke at his memorial, and I was blacklisted, and I was 24. I was not yet 24. I was probably 22, 23. And at 24, I was blacklisted. And until I was 36, I stayed blacklisted. So I didn't get back into film or television for 12 years. And those 12 years, the 24 to 36, are an actor's life.
Of course, a female actor.
A female actor's life for television and for film.
Undeniably.
I mean, that's it.
Right.
And it's over at 36.
Right. Yeah,
which is why I lied about my age all the time.
Smart.
And it's really kind of freeing
to
say, I'm 91. Now it's like, sure, what the hell, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah. Right.
Who cares? What was I saying?
We were talking about the blacklist and that for those 12 years. So, but you were given an opportunity.
But what I wanted to say about that,
Yeah, go ahead.
What
Yes.
I wanted to say about that was that was my school, and that was my schooling, and how lucky I was to go from being such a vacant Upper West Side, Riverside Drive girl.
Everything
with
taken
nothing
care
on
of.
my mind but boys.
Everything taken care of for you, right? All your needs.
Everything taken, and not only that, I wasn't allowed to wash a dish. I wasn't allowed to hang up my clothes. I came from a mother who learned from movies about what rich ladies did. It was a totally unconnected world to what was really going on. So that going from that world that doesn't exist to the blacklist, to marrying a man 12 years older than me who had 2 children, took me from that kind of delusional world that I was raised in to being the babysitter and the cook and the dishwasher, and to a belief system, not of communism, because I never became a communist, a belief system that people could believe what they want and not have death and careers taken away from them, and their freedom taken away, and being hounded by FBIs because they were communists. They believed in communism. So my education happened over those 12 years, and I was very, very active in the union in trying to get rid of the people who were doing the blacklisting. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I was very active. It was my college. It was my learning opportunity to stand up and fight, mm-hmm. and eventually, after 12 years, win.
Were you given the opportunity to come in and early on though, and for the opportunity for your name to be taken off the blacklist? All you had to do was to give some names.
Oh yes,
right, and you didn't.
No, of course not.
Well,
no.
You say of course not, but a lot of contemporaries did, and they may have regretted it, but they did still make that decision, right? And without,
I had such a fear, Adam, that a name would slip out. Because, I went in front of the Un-American Activities Committee twice, one openly and the other in secret. And the fear I had that a name would slip out of my mouth and somebody's livelihood would be taken away was so endemic in me that I stopped being able to introduce one person to the other. When it came to, and today I have the same. I cannot say names.
It's incredible.
Yeah,
it's incredible. Right, it left its mark on you in that way.
Yeah,
that's the least of it. I mean, I guess that's good. Not so bad in the scheme of things.
It left a good mark in the sense that my instincts, because I wasn't trained in anything, that my instincts were to fight for something that was right and good.
Sure.
And that kept on when I was doing documentaries. That was the source of my being able to do that. But the bad thing was that the terror of turning someone in, of saying something that might hurt someone else and kill them, because the blacklist did kill a lot of people.
Absolutely. It killed people too that did name names. Like, in other words, I know that the names that they named were worse off. Like the toxicity of racism and of other things like that. The people that named the names were also victimized on a certain level. They were living in such fear and...
Absolutely.
You do have... So you have...
Wow, yes, absolutely.
Okay. Because I guess, our mutual friend Peter Rinaldi quoted on Twitter. I don't know if you're familiar with Twitter, but maybe Taylor does your tweeting as well. It's social media, but anyway, he wrote something and he quoted Elia Kazan, and I just said, I shouldn't have wrote it publicly. In retrospect, I wrote he was he named names, traitor, because for me it's all black and white to me, and I know that's not right. In a way, I'm learning to be more open about it, and I shouldn't judge people as quite so quickly. My first thing was, well, he named names, he destroyed people, and. So he's dead to me. Of course, I can appreciate how he changed film acting. One could say that he's the guy.
Not only changed film acting, Adam, but he did a film called A Voice in the Crowd.
Sure.
Which pre-something Trump in an extraordinary... Have you seen it? Did you see it?
A Voice in the Crowd?
Yeah. Is it A Voice in the Crowd?
No, it's not A Voice in the Crowd.
It's a Face in the Crowd.
Face in the Crowd.
It's
yes,
a Face in the Crowd.
Sure, yeah.
Which, took this kind of guitar-playing entertainer who was so popular, like Trump was with his television show.
Was it Andy Griffith?
Yes, Andy Griffith.
Yeah.
And put him in a position where he could be president.
Right.
If Patricia Neal hadn't turned the microphone on and the American people hadn't heard this rant that their president was giving about what he thought about the people. And that is momentous. Nobody ever made a film like that but
No.
Kazan.
We take it for granted 50, 60 years later, but we don't know that at the time it was groundbreaking, that it was your point. Like when that movie came out, it was groundbreaking. Like now we take it for granted to people that are much younger.
I don't think we take it
Well-
for granted. I don't think anybody's. I've not seen this picture.
No, but young folks that were born well after that period of time when the film came out.
Yeah.
And if they see it now, they may be able to enjoy it and relate to it. But they may not understand how, at the time when this came out, it was actually quite a big deal.
I think it. There was no picture like it. There's no picture since like it. Mm-hmm. And this is the story of our lives
It is.
today.
Right.
Okay?
gonna ask you about
It's the story of our lives today. And so why isn't it being brought back and played?
Sure. That's true.
You know?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
I mean,
but what I'm saying is
Yeah.
that Kazan did that.
yeah.
Now, I didn't talk to him for 12 years.
Okay.
Okay? And he tried. He made overtures to have a friendship. And I didn't talk to him. I couldn't talk to him because he gave names. And so in the last couple of years, I've been thinking more about it. And A Face in the Crowd has really turned me around and made me think how this young director, and the best American director we've ever had, the best, I mean... he
Arguably,
did,
sure.
Absolutely. I mean, the Tennessee Williams, the Arthur Miller, stuff that he did. What a decision he had to make to be loyal to the group theater people,
Right.
who he had a lot of problems with, who were very temperamental, and being offered one film after another, any film he wanted to make, and all of his films were important. All of his films were really important films and meant something. To say, I can say through that, let me just get rid of these names. People are naming these same people anyway. So why can't I name them and make really important work out there? I, started to think about that. For a young, ambitious guy, what devotion do I have to the Communist Party that they do? Why don't they leave? And so I see his point of view. I couldn't be friends with him, but I see what his torture was, and what should I do? Give up my career?
Well, I felt like by saying they were in a tough spot, to say the least, very tough spot, and they were human, But
I don't
think
say that about everybody.
Right,
I
no,
really don't, Adam.
Okay, right.
I don't say that about everybody.
No, I get
but
it.
I did see the torturous position that Kazan was in at the time.
Sure. I guess I felt like it diluted what you guys that took a bigger risk and didn't refuse to name names and paid the price for it. But I feel like it diluted those people's experience of taking such risks. Some of those people never worked again. Some of those people committed suicide. Some of those people lived in poverty. Some people had to go writing under pseudonyms.
And I was one of those people.
Yes, right.
So these are thoughts that just came to me recently.
It's amazing.
Watching A Face
In the Crowd again.
A Face in the Crowd again. And thinking of Trump.
Yeah.
And seeing this amazing and remarkable parallel between what we're going through today and what he filmed when? 40 years ago? 50? More, maybe.
Yeah,
when?
more. Yeah.
I don't know. But to predict that kind of publicity hound,
Right, manipulator of the media.
Manipulator of
Right.
the media, gambler.
Right.
Gambler.
Right.
To actually follow Obama is such a stunning accomplishment that it brought back the Kazan film to me. And that he had drawn that picture that many years ago of what we are living through now.
Well, now we know, of course, that almost anybody, maybe with the Russians helping them, might have gotten, I mean, there was a big conspiracy to get Trump into the, right? And to...
Oh, yes.
So we know that now that Trump didn't just do it because he appealed to, whatever percentage of people, but that there was actually... other foreign, foreign sources, the Russians and whatever. And also, I think the election was rigged, or, there was corrupt practices around the election and about...
But here we are, doing a podcast, and we're in the middle of a revolution in media, which allowed... somebody like Trump to get away with it.
Yes,
you
right,
have
that's true.
Assange,
right?
Living in the what was it called, the embassy?
Embassy.
You have Assange living in an embassy and going crazy there. I mean, the drama of this, and you have people with a new media able to check into anybody's life,
right?
The intimacy of anybody's life, and so it's very, very scary. I'm in the Louisa May Alcott kind of frame here.
Little Women.
Little Women.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're Joe. What is it? What was the character?
Yeah, Joe, Amy. Joe. I can't remember.
But I don't want to. I feel like I resent the turning over the time we have to talking about that asshole in office right now. But I do feel like that this is the closest that we have to a fascist in office. A fascist
absolutely.
Like such obvious.
He's the
fascist.
Sunny side of Hitler.
If he were smarter, I'd give him more credit for it. I just
Yeah. Well, he's very smart in a salesman kind of way.
Absolutely, those are the
he's
instincts.
watch these tricks, and he's a gambler, and he's gambling with our lives.
He gambles
with no problem.
He's always gambled with other people's money.
Yep.
Now he's gambling with human lives.
Yes.
By laughing off the environment or North Korea or whatever. These are things that are gambling.
Absolutely.
Because any day we could pay an enormous price for.
That's right.
Time is so wasting in terms of like the environment. We don't have the time. And it's funny because there was similar to a face in the crowd, rather, this recording that went out. We also had one, but it doesn't seem to matter anymore. He could say anything.
I know.
It doesn't matter. He could say that he was grabbing at, whatever. It doesn't seem to make a difference. But okay. Anyway, I'm more interested in you than him at the moment. Anyway, if he comes on the podcast, Mark Maron got Obama. With my luck, I'll probably get Trump.
How can we, talk
right.
and slough over him? He's
ever present.
He's the thorn in our hearts.
Yes. Well, for me, I grew up in going to the summer camp upstate or on the Hudson Valley, where it was in the 70s, where it was a group of hippies, literally, of course, and where the Rosenberg kids, they already left, but the two boys went to the summer camp before me.
That you went to?
Yeah.
You knew them?
No, I ended up meeting one of them. I did meet one of them. One of the Rosenberg. They go by a different last name. The people that raised them, they took their name.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting right now the name. But one of them, his daughter made a documentary, a very good documentary, not long ago. And so I went to some opening thing, and I knew he was coming. And I finally got to tell him that, we went to the same summer camp, which was a very small one. But I felt very connected to, and my parents were very left-wing, so I felt always very connected to the Rosenberg story and the blacklist, which was afterward. And these stories of that happened right here in America. And I feel an urgency to keep those stories, alive, so that's why that's probably one of the reasons why I did want to talk about the blacklist with you, because, but your reentry back into was somebody gave you a television break, right? It was Peyton Place. What was your?
Yeah.
It was Peyton Place, right? Which was an enormous
Peyton
success.
Place. which was enormous. Went on 3 times a week. Can you imagine?
It was just a nighttime
3
soap
times
opera.
a
though.
week, the soap opera, and everybody stayed home to watch it, and
Right.
everybody, it was
Yeah.
it was just amazing, and to go from that kind of 12-year obscurity
Wow.
to being on everybody's television 3 times a week for, I don't know, a year and a half, I guess, was stepping out onto the big stage. It was really thrilling and scary and amazing and fun and all kinds of, kick up your heels, dive into the pool.
Yeah. After an intense period, I mean, it must have been a welcome sort of respite.
It was freedom.
Yeah.
It was, what, really? And fortunately, since I was probably the youngest person blacklisted, fortunately, I was still young enough to have a career there, and I think I had a 12-year career, 36 to 46, 50, something like that. And then I started directing.
Oh.
But
you're saying 36 to 46 was when you were back in Hollywood.
Yes, and
Right.
I mean, it was
Yeah.
like, work for me, act for me. I mean, it was like...
Yeah, all of a sudden.
It was like being invited to the ball and being surrounded by all these, new director guys who knew my history.
Yes.
And wanted to work with me, and it was
Right.
like being asked to dance.
It became an
I
advantage.
was the most popular girl at the party.
Yeah.
And it was fun but thrilling too, because the work that the directors were doing at that time was just extraordinary and groundbreaking. And so, I went there at a time when new kinds of film were being done. Norman Jewison and Hal Ashby and Steven. Yes,
Spielberg?
Spielberg.
Yeah.
Steven but he was a kid then.
I was thinking Soderbergh.
Huh?
I was thinking even more.
Yeah, Steven Spielberg, Steven Soderbergh, and the Italian guy.
Well, okay. Well, there were a few of them.
No,
but you were
the one who Marlon Brando played the Godfather with. Huh?
Right. Oh, sure. Oh, you're talking about Coppola.
Coppola.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about when I say that I stumble over people's names.
Oh,
That's
Interesting.
part of my the effect
Right. So I'm not
of
going to
being afraid to say names is that I stumble over people's names all the time, and I know that you will know it or somebody else will know it.
That's good.
But that it's become a part of my
right. Of that.
of finding it hard to say names.
Interesting. Right.
Yeah.
So this is right. And then one of the outcomes of
But to
having
go
gone
back
through that.
to them, I mean, they were kids. Coppola was, just out of college.
Right.
And the kind of movies that they were making was something that they never did before
Right.
in Hollywood.
Yeah, and they were probably less.
And I was there.
And you were there.
You
really
it was
were.
so
Yeah.
this romance
Yeah.
was, just intense.
Yeah. And they thought you were a few years younger.
Well, I lied.
I remember.
I went
read
to
your book.
great.
Yeah. There was no IMDb.com. And
No.
Fortunately for you.
I was trying to have them not wish me happy birthday on the radio, so nobody would know.
Yeah.
But I went to Mayor Yorty when I was
Where?
trying to get him to give us the actor studio, and I said, by the way, they got my age wrong on my driving license. Please, Mayor
Fix it.
Yorty, Sam,
Yeah.
could you change it to?
And he did.
He did. He took
remember.
5 years off. And I was so relieved. And that was the only way that I figured they would know how old I was. You
Probably
know.
true, though, at the time. Right?
Yeah, that I was 31 instead of 36. So I was, I was dancing as fast as I could to stay in the game.
Stay in the game,
To
and it
stay
worked.
in the game.
And of course, you didn't even know just how youthful you were. Even at whatever age you were, you had an incredible amount of vitality, which was helpful, I'm
Yeah,
sure. in
no,
playing-
that
'cause
was a
it
family
still
thing.
persists.
Yeah,
Well, okay.
that's true.
You know, early on, one of my favorite movies, which brings us to this thing I mentioned before we started, which is how I met you the first time. And this was at BAM, the Brooklyn Academy of Music in Brooklyn. It was a retrospective for Hal Ashby. Yeah,
Hal Ashby.
it was for him. And there was the evening they showed The Landlord, which of course you're in. And that night, Robert Downey Sr. Don't get excited. Well, you should be excited. Robert Downey Sr. was part of the Q&A. I'm pretty sure the same, unless I'm mistaken. You were in the same Q&A. Is that possible? I know you were
Sure.
there,
Yeah.
but I can't remember if you were. It was the same Q&A.
Robert
but
Downey Sr. Made a film, his really eclectic, brilliant, woo-woo films that Hal Ashby, because we all came to New York to make The Landlord, Hal Ashby insisted that the whole cast go and see the Robert Downey crazy film
Senior.
the night before we started shooting the whole film of The Landlord. So
Honey
that
Swope or one of the other ones?
Yeah.
Yours? Okay.
yes, so that his sense of Robert Downey Sr.'s insanity was so focused that he wanted to have us move into that world in order to do The Landlord, because
see.
The Landlord is, an insane world.
Yes.
That place on Long Island, where my son comes from. And it was so brilliant of Hal to have us all see
Right.
that movie and pull us together as a troupe.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
I don't remember the movie.
It's.
It was a short
I got a
film.
copy of it. I didn't bring it. I should have brought it, but I could have let it. But it was like one of those Hal Ashby's I had never seen. I really didn't even know about it. I mean, before that night, I just it was one of the few. I went to like 2 or 3 that I had not been to or seen before. Of course, I've seen Harold and Maude and Shampoo, which you're also in. People should know that. But I had not
and the
known
one
the
with-
Landlord until then. And then
Oh.
and so afterwards, there's a staircase that leaving the theater or coming down from the screening room. Like, there's a staircase down to the lobby. And we were walking out, and I said hello to you. And I offered you my arm. And you took it, and I walked you down. I walked down the stairs with you, and we chatted for a few minutes. Yeah.
I remember taking someone's arm
Do you really?
and being very pleased by
Oh.
your graciousness and the fact that you were cute too.
Wow, I wish you had said that then. I think I was
I wouldn't
fresh
say
out of a marriage. I could have heard that. I was in there. No, but I'm so glad you have a vague memory of that.
Yes,
because
I
it was
do.
meaningful to me because I really always just really loved your work and
And I tend to fall down steps. I do. So that you may have saved my life.
well,
When I went to adopt Belinda
preemptively.
in Thailand, we went to the ambassador's house, and I left my clothes. I was making a movie in London. I'd left my clothes in London, and I had to buy, one of those Thai dresses
Sure.
and new shoes, and my foot slipped on the stairs going down.
Oh, on the gown.
And this is the ambassador's house, and we were going outside to eat. And I felt myself go, and my hand stretched out, and Joey stretched out to try and save me. But I fell down a flight of steps. But you know
terrifying.
that thing of, but I don't want to embarrass you, Ambassador.
Yeah.
But I did, falling down a flight of steps. And so you get up with the kind of aplomb that you shouldn't have to have. You should be able to
Right.
go, I hurt myself, but instead
Yeah.
you get up, acting the same way. So I had a tendency to fall down steps, and I really needed your hand at that time.
Oh, I'm so sorry that I wasn't there at that event.
But I told the ambassador off at the table. I couldn't eat because my hands were shaking so hard.
Oh, I bet.
But But I
When
told
you yeah, go ahead.
Tim, because Belinda, who Joey and I adopted in Thailand, was 2.5 at the time, and I don't want to tell you how her mother was earning a living, but she was sitting on the sidewalk with her grandmother, begging to
Oh,
get.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was something about the American troops there, kind of invading the lives of these women without helping them and leaving children behind.
Right. Sure.
Without their being taken care of. And so we took 2 children. One was Belinda, and the other was a wonderful boy. But it was an education for us too.
Of course.
And now I've got 2 girl grandchildren, so
Yeah. Belinda, your daughter.
Yes.
And Dinah. And the boy ended up living with another family?
Yes.
Is that what happened? That's what
Yeah.
I thought. Okay. Yeah. And the book, but again, the book, which is called I Said Yes to Everything, it tells this, you're very open about
Oh, yeah.
all of the, the family, your family experiences with your children and your marriages. It's why I wanted to talk to you, because just somebody who's open, that doesn't see the point of hiding or, shame. I guess this also comes from the blacklist days, perhaps after coming out of that, maybe, it's all about sunshine, not trying to live in the darkness at all. I don't know what your reasons for being quite so open, but it doesn't seem so typical that somebody would be quite so open. You don't even always come off as, perfect. You know what I'm saying? You come off a flawed person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I know it.
Yeah.
And I know it.
By the way, I also, speaking of your family and your children, I saw Dinah when I was I'm guessing it was the 80s maybe, but I saw Dinah on Broadway when she did I Ought to Be in Pictures. I saw that.
I did too. No, but it was like a revelation.
Uh-huh.
Great. She was in a Neil Simon play.
Mm-hmm.
She was playing the lead in it. She got a Tony for it, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes. And
I don't remember that.
And I remember sitting in the audience, it was like an out of body experience.
Yeah.
Seeing how comfortable she was on stage and how remarkable and human and brilliant she was.
Was it Ron Liebman who played her
Funny.
father?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ron Liebman.
I think that's
and Joyce Van Patten, who is one of my great friends.
Oh, okay.
From the time that she was 16 in the theater.
Oh, I forgot.
And
about
I
that.
wasn't that much older.
I think that must have been the cast I saw it so many years now.
Yeah. But that was, one of those miracles.
Yeah. When you, I was thinking before when you were saying you slipped and you have a history of falling, except for at BAM.
Huh?
I say you had a couple of falls. You said,
Yeah.
But what about now? You won also an Oscar. You won an Oscar.
Yeah.
For Shampoo. Which one?
For Shampoo.
Shampoo. Anyway,
I was nominated a lot of times.
Yes, I know.
And ignored the minute that somebody else got the Oscar. The press turns on you when you don't win.
Yeah.
It's like you come to the Oscar ceremony and they say, Lee, I want a picture, I want a picture, I want a picture. And the minute that you lose, it's like, when you get out of the way, lady.
Exactly.
So it's not a pleasant experience to lose at the Oscars. You're always like kicked out of the way.
Yeah.
And
if you don't go, you're sore sport.
No, you have to go.
But there was no close call for tripping. There's always no close call for tripping going up to receive your Oscar.
Well, I was very careful. I was very careful.
I always feel so terrible. It always happens every few years. Somebody stumbles.
I know.
On their shoes or their. And it's usually women because they're the ones wearing those shoes, right?
Of course.
Oh my gosh! Well, I'm glad you didn't. I don't remember that particular ceremony site, but I do remember the performance, and it was Another area, because this could go on for a long time. I don't know how much time we have, but we're good. Is your documentary period? because I watched. I think I had seen one already, just one, and I think it was. I put it on my computer so I would have the
tell
title.
me what it was
Would I
about.
have the title? Oh, it's The Poverty in America.
Down and Out in America.
Thank you, Taylor. Down and Out in America, which, like most of those projects that you directed, were so prescient or ahead of the time. Like you did one on gender, the gender issue, sexuality and gender,
What was the name of that?
which you were.
What Sex Am I?
What Sex Am I? Which even at the time, it was only really relatively recently where we now see how that there's a big difference between sexual orientation and gender identity. But for the longest time, people just put everybody in one category. If you weren't quote unquote normal, a normal person, meaning cisgender, heterosexual, that you were outside of the normal, and you saw that there were all these people who had a voice and deserved to be introduced to.
Well, I discovered it as I went along. It was a huge learning experience for me.
You were learning while we were. You were our avatar because you were asking the questions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really taken along on this amazing journey.
But we're barely out of the AIDS. I mean, we were still probably in the AIDS. I mean, we still are, of course. But I mean, with the height of the epidemic, right?
Yeah.
You were making these films, and the one on What Sex Am I? What year was that? 85. Oh, so it was right in the midst of the AIDS epidemic too.
I know, and so many
where the
of
president
those
of the United
people
States
who
wouldn't
I
say
interviewed died.
Right.
My stars, my remarkable boy girls who took me through this whole experience were taken,
Mm-hmm. But you were, and it was the height of AIDS, right?
Yep.
In the mid-'80s, and the president at the time wouldn't even say the word until he was almost out of office. Reagan. Reagan wouldn't even say the word. So how many people could have been saved if he had been more rather proactive rather than reactive? But that's another bad president.
Well, he also was not a favorite president of mine.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But I would still say you're making these documentaries. I mean, we named 2, but there were like at least 5, right? You made.
Oh yes.
And
great documentaries, and they happen to be of the whole Me Too experience.
That's right.
I mean, it's
women
in prison, the battered women, and what are the other ones? The Wilmer 8, the pay inequality, and they're brilliant. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't say that about myself, but the people in them responding are so honest and so remarkable and so forthright in saying. So for me, it was, how come I didn't know that? How come nobody knows that? How come in the intimacy of your relationship that you are going through the things you're going through and able to express it in the way that you do? It was an enormous journey for me, those documentaries. And I was reasoning recently on how it got started. I had made a small, beautiful film at the AFI just when I'd gotten my Oscar for the Shampoo. And AFI called and said, do you want to take a directing workshop? Our first women's directing workshop. And so I did a beautiful piece, a Strindberg piece, and it was so good that it got a prize, and they showed it in a big theater. And sitting next to me was Barbara Koppel, who had done, what was the name of her?
Well, it was Harlan County, USA.
It was Harlan County, USA.
Which she got the Oscar for herself.
Yes, for which she got the Oscar. And I had never seen a documentary like that.
No, nobody has.
And I was sitting, and there was my beautiful little piece, and I was feeling very snotty about it. And then came Harlan County, USA.
Made by
which-
this child. She
which
was so
ro-
young.
Yes,
She was
a
so
child.
beautiful and young. Yeah.
Rose me out of my
Yeah.
seat to see her so sweet talking to those coal miners.
Oh, and
Have a good day, she said.
but they were. She would put herself in danger. I mean, too,
Absolutely.
because she got caught up right where the guys running the company,
Yes.
the mines didn't want
She
the
was
unions.
she was in danger, and
was.
she was shooting this film there, and it set the whole course of my life. Barbara Koppel changed my life.
Oh, it's great to hear.
And you know what?
She's been on the show twice.
Oh,
She's a friend.
Good,
I call her
good.
a friend too. I did a fundraiser Kickstarter, the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I did one a couple of years, not long ago, and she was very supportive, and she did some social media, and she really helped me quite a bit.
Well, the first documentary that I got was the prison documentary.
Right, which is women who were
When
in
women
prison.
kill.
When women kill.
When women kill,
and they're usually killing the battered, the
they're
batterers.
usually killing
The batterers.
guys who
Right.
battered them. And,
Yeah.
and
It's the last straw.
it's the last straw. But the thing is that I asked Barbara Koppel about who I should use on sound because,
Oh, right.
and she said me. And I said, oh, are you
Wow.
kidding? You on sound, you, the great documentary maker, doing sound on my first documentary. And she said, I need the money. And she had her son in a little kind of cradle that
Right.
she carried, a box that she carried. Barbara Koppel did the sound
Yeah, I remember.
on
Yeah.
that
Amazing.
and carried her little boy in this little cradle
Yeah.
into the prison rooms,
Really?
into the bar, into everything. That little boy went everywhere. And it was like a miracle. It was like a miracle. The rules you could break, the things that you could do, and the invasion of the lives that the people we talk to, the invasion of their privacy and their need to be invaded, their need to
Tell their
spill
story.
out and,
Right. Like
and
you in your
say,
book.
this is what happened to me, this
Yeah.
is what happened.
Well, you also do have to provide, like I understand that I need to do, if we're going to have intimate conversations, you need to provide a safe, and you need to provide a safe environment for your subjects, so they do feel that you're, they can speak honestly, if to you, like they're dying to do it, or they're, but they have to know they're safe, and you provided that as a filmmaker.
And you, and you in this broadcast or whatever this is called, and your reputation preceded you because I knew about you through Taylor and through Roberta, and I knew that I was safe.
Well, thank you. But you're not you're not in a prison, but
Well,
I appreciate it. No,
all
but I
of the
appreciate it.
people who I interviewed in all the other documentaries weren't in a prison or a prison of their own lives.
Yeah.
But
I've been in the situations where I've spoken to because a lot of the people I do bring on also make documentaries, not just Barbara Koppel, but there have been some cases of some pretty extreme cases where you'll get a filmmaker and then the subjects will join them for the conversation, and they maybe
great.
and they really stuck their necks out. I mean, I've had a couple of where like parents of, where the one child killed one. There's one. That's okay. That's Bella.
the wine of Bella is okay.
Yeah, come here, Bella. Where there's one.
I'm not taking you out. No, I took you out. Ask somebody else. No.
There's all sorts of options here. Right. I just want to name one. For instance, there was a mother who was the subject of a documentary whose son was psychotic, who killed his younger sister. So, I mean, how much more tragic? And I got the filmmaker and the mother on the show. This is quite a bit of time had passed, but still, so the mother came on my show. So yeah, sensitivity and feeling safe is pretty important if you're going to get into that. I don't even know why they let me do it, because it's like, who knows what jerk you're going to get wants to bring people on their podcast. But I try to, I understand that
it's your journey.
Yeah, well, it is.
It's your journey. That was my journey, and so was the book. You know, it's your journey.
Is it true, having made those documentaries, and you got Emmys? They ended down out in America, which is about poverty right here in America, which at the time wasn't talked about.
Even worse,
right?
now.
We remember Bobby Kennedy being ushered to the South, deep South, into the rural South, where with cameras, and his going into the homes of these impoverished people living in shacks without plumbing, electricity in some cases, and where the kids are running around hungry. This is in the 60s, but he this changed him. He said he came out of that and he was changed. But we didn't really have a lot of other instances of seeing, not just, you don't have to even go to the rural South to see people that are in such dire straits that it was.
Well, go up to Broadway.
Yeah.
Go up to Broadway.
Yeah.
And see the men and women lying on the streets, homeless and hopeless.
Mm-hmm. So the idea was to humanize those people, right? To get them their humanity.
No.
Okay.
It was not. I mean, they were humans. There was no need to humanize them.
That was a poor choice of words, because you're right. I guess I meant to say give them for people watching, that they see them as people rather than a platform.
A platform. Shine the light on what was going on in their lives.
Yeah.
And we started with the farmers, whose own bank was taking their farms away from them. And we went to what's happening in L.A. Do you know that in L.A., homeless population is now like 58,000?
Yikes.
Now, today,
right. Yeah.
58,000. Of course, everybody goes to California because they don't
Paradise.
freeze.
Yeah, right. But they and then they end up living in their car or in the trailer on one of the...
Or on the beach.
Right, yeah.
In Malibu,
I heard there's entire areas where there's just stretches of like trailer homes where people, that's all they can afford, so they get that and then they just park in L.A.
And then in the last part of it was at one of the hotels downtown across the street from Macy's, which they had turned over into a homeless building.
Right. Yeah.
And the rule at that time was that only women and children could be in certain parts of the hotel, bless you, so that families split up, so that the husbands would come and wave to the women and children. The conditions were so astonishing that people were forced to live in and face that there was no comment that you could make. All you had to do was be there and have them speak for themselves.
Just train your camera and let them do the rest.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I found the farmers to be also very, again, prescient. The film is prescient because one of the farmers said, like, at the rate it's going, there aren't going to be family-run farms in a matter of time.
That's right.
And boy, did he call it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that the factories closed in those rural areas. And these guys this one guy was stuck in his truck trying to learn to use a computer. And he said, I worked there since I was out of high school. My father worked in that factory. My grandfather worked in it. So the world that they lived in was demolished.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't exist anymore. And there he was sitting in his old truck trying to learn to use a computer.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a life. It's a machine.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
It's
you
foreign,
don't
right.
you see your friends every day and do your work and come home and have dinner with your family.
I heard through Roberta, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I can also not include it on the podcast, but that there was a plan to do a retrospective of your directed works.
I heard about 2 minutes ago.
Oh.
That is definitely a thing.
Oh, okay.
Roberta just emailed me that the retrospective at Film Forum is going on this fall. And
Oh,
we should talk about it.
beautiful.
So I'm glad you brought it up.
Oh,
Oh, it's funny that I just happened to bring it. So, all these documentaries, and they, by the way, they originally
I am
played.
so thrilled.
Oh,
I just
congratulations.
heard that. You know, I didn't know whether it was going on or
Well,
not.
we'll say it on air now. We'll say that we just found out. Well, I was just about to ask you, and then we confirmed that there's going to be a retrospective of your documentaries and other films.
And her work as an actor and a director across the board.
Oh,
It's going to be 15 to 20 films in the fall at Film Forum.
in the fall, there's going to be
Ooh.
Elite
Oh,
Branch retrospective.
boy, oh,
Feel
boy.
yourself
Hey,
really.
I'm hot stuff.
You hang out long enough, you keep coming back. It's a great thing. Well, it's high time, and what a great theater to do. And they've renovated it recently. So
Yes, it's beautiful.
yeah.
It's really
so they're going to have a
beautiful.
retrospective of your work, both your
Oh,
directing and
that's
some other.
thrilling. That's
Yeah.
thrilling. It's thrilling to
You can
me
talk to them.
because
Yeah.
these people meant so much to me.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Or wonder.
every single one of them. And
Do you
to
have any
their story told? You know, not to be on little round things that you put away on a drawer, but to be seen again, to be heard. That is thrilling to me.
Are you in touch with any of those folks? Do you ever hear, or did you ever hear back from any of them? Or I know it's not so
Well,
quite so easy.
the ones who were in What Sex Am I were friends for a long time. They came to New York. They'd
Right.
come to dinner. You know, the others, no.
Yeah, it's interesting because it would have been really difficult to maintain, and so many of them were in a period of transition or transition.
Yes, and some of the women who came out of the first film, the
battered
the
one
prison,
or the prison one. Okay,
the prison.
yeah,
Yeah, because I'm in New York and they were in a New York prison.
right.
You know, came out and we had relationships and then they disappeared.
Yes.
Yeah, but here they are.
Yeah, they're coming back at the Film Forum. That's wonderful
Yep.
news in the fall. So we'll get more details soon about that. But that's terrific news. I
But
was
the
hoping.
thing is that I mean, on that battered thing, the fact that there is this kind of bizarre revolution for women at this particular time. I don't know whether Trump brought it on, whether his mistreatment of women touched
sure.
a button that made women stand up. I mean, we've got a new Congress that is
Far more women.
far more women. I don't know what the reaction is. That maybe he touched a button that will turn out to be good for us.
Or grabbed a button. Maybe.
Well, that wasn't whatever button he grabbed. I pity the poor lady. But maybe maybe that helps.
Yeah.
But I certainly feel that the battering of women is very current.
Mm-hmm.
It's very current in relationships, so that to speak up and to see your life in film, in the documentaries that we made, can be a really encouraging thing for women to change their lives and speak up and speak out and allow themselves to be unafraid.
Are you?
It's fear, mainly. The fear that you find.
Well, I think it's fear that in the end of the day, I suppose you could say, is the reason why there's so many people did vote for this guy.
Huh?
I think it's fear that explains why so many Americans did vote for Trump, was out of fear of what I think, People are seeing a change in the country demographically, racially, what have you. And I think there's a lot of fear that people have about, that's why the idea of Make America Great Again is so successful to this percentage of people, because they're scared of what the future looks like. Instead of just embracing it, it's inevitable. You may as well just get on board and, ride it out. People are afraid of a less white America is what I'm saying.
Well, why
I think
did
that's
they
why
vote for Obama for a second term then?
Getting voted into a second term isn't so hard as getting voted in a first time.
Yeah.
Well, there's also something to being of the moment, and I don't know. I don't have all the, but I do believe this reaction is. This is my theory, but that the reaction to that 8 years was the last bit of gasp of that people that a certain population are, that's why there's so much attention
I don't know.
A passion behind getting somebody like that in office, and people supporting him, even though every other day it's something, and even though his policies don't really help or benefit most of the people that vote for him and support him. I don't understand it. Right? Who has he done? Who has he helped?
You think it's this fierce throwback from the kind of comfort and passion that people felt with Obama?
It was
the kind of security.
Yeah.
You felt secure.
I guess so, yeah. Well, we did.
Because he was,
maybe other
so
people didn't.
classy and smart.
Well, you do want somebody smart running the country.
Yes.
I don't get it.
And
you
careful,
do feel much more
and gracious
and thoughtful,
and
right?
funny.
Right.
That was such a classy guy.
Yeah.
And
this is everything except
this is
everything opposite
that
of that.
Isn't that.
Yeah, right, exactly. That's right. And so we all feel unstable as a result of that. There's an instability there all the time now.
How could it happen?
Well, it's an opportunity for. You obviously your life work to a great extent, whether it was intended or otherwise, is a real feminist story. It just is. You were you had a lot of opposition and a lot of the cards were often set against you, or however you want to put it. Yet you were able to overcome many obstacles in your career, whether it was the blacklist, whether it was just being a woman actor, an attractive woman in Hollywood. There's the casting couch. There was lots of other things of that nature. And then the documentaries.
I never had a casting couch. I never, the 70s in Hollywood were so fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was smoking, drinking, never thinking. And Malibu, you were raising your kids together. And it was a
key. I just think key
very
parties
high
and
time.
dope.
Huh?
Key parties and dope. I don't know.
Yes, parties and dope.
Yeah, that too.
And romance.
And sexual
freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah. It was. I was not a feminist in those days. I was, a working actor with a new husband,
Mm-hmm.
with 2 kids in Malibu, and having all kinds of relationships with the other mommies and daddies in Malibu who also had kids,
Mm-hmm.
and going to Brenda Vaccaro's house on the weekends to see all these stunning people from everywhere, everyone you can imagine, Dolly Parton, Warren Beatty, Jack, everybody, Ryan O'Neal, everybody, went to Brenda's house.
Really? Brenda?
Yeah, on the weekends, and did coke and grass and drank and had a great time. It was not a feminist agenda.
No, I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was work and fun with the people you were working with. And Gloria asked me. She came out at a time when she was doing Ms. Magazine, and she asked me who I thought were more exploited, actors or actresses. And I said, neither. And they're equal. The actors are equal to the actresses because from where I came from, the theater, we're all in it together, We're all in it for our lives. We're all in it for our performances. We all have to support each other. It really wasn't until these last kind of Me Too things where the women started to stand up and say, where are the directors? Where are the stars of this? Where are the producers? That I really had my eyes opened to see the inequities of what had been going on. Because I'd been a director all through this for the last 30 years. So it was a coming of age for me, unlikely term, but it was a coming of age for me to learn that. I was really, really busy having a good time.
Do you feel like younger actresses or women come to you, do they ask you to talk or lecture? Because the Me Too movement, and I don't know if they tapped you for any kind of, I don't know.
No.
At all.
No, and also, I had a huge problem with Al, what's his name, the one who was moved out of office by...
Al Franken.
Al Franken.
Al Franken.
I had a tremendous problem with his being pushed out of office.
Me too.
Because of those shots of him as a comic. Years before he was
Groping.
even, a senator, doing his hands,
right.
To the camera, like, I'm like a Marx Brothers,
right.
Thing.
Yeah.
Bump. It was a joke. It was a joke. And the thing about, groping, he's a comic. I don't know whether he did it to make the woman laugh, the other comic laugh, but to be run out of office on those things is to me criminal. That was one guy who I really listened to and learned from. And I thought he was a great senator. A great senator, not a good one, a great one, and he knew how to communicate that on television too. And he was probably the only guy who could take Trump on and beat him at his own game because he's so funny. So for him to be a victim of that kind of what I consider to be false feminism, for them to get rid of him was something that made me very uncomfortable and angry. And
so you're expressing that you also have maybe a little bit of a complicated relationship with this movement.
Yes,
because maybe it's a little.
I absolutely do.
I see.
I mean, to get rid of Al Franken on that basis, to me, is...
Well, he stepped down. I mean, he could have not stepped down. And he also... I mean, there's a lot of pressure. But he also saw that there are some losses that are unfortunate, but they're part of the bigger picture. You know what I'm saying?
I don't agree. It's unfair.
Yeah, and I think he should come back.
Yes.
I think he should run. I do think he should run for... Well, I don't know about president. There's like 40, 50 people running for president. 20-something people in the Democratic Party. So, do you know Bernie? Do you have a feeling about Bernie Sanders? Do you have any feeling about?
Tell you,
how do you think he would do?
My friends love Bernie.
Yeah.
I didn't like the way he treated Hillary. It was still nicer than the way that Trump treated Hillary, but I felt that they both had a kind of, get out of the way, you're a woman.
Really?
Yes. I think they both had that for me.
Mm-hmm. It's legitimate. Yeah. Well, thank you for all your open response to all these questions because you're putting me on the spot. I don't think I wrote that.
So you want to stay for dinner?
If that I could. I'm actually have to go to a gala thing for another podcast called The Moth. Do you know that one?
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah, the storytelling.
The Moth.
It's a story.
My favorite.
Oh, you know it?
Oh, yes.
You know that?
Oh, yes.
The
I
storytelling.
love it. I love the storytelling.
Well, where do you hear it?
Huh?
Where do you hear that? How did you know about The Moth?
Well, I really listen to my radio all.
Okay. Oh, because it's maybe they put it on NPR or whatever?
Yes, it's on NPR, which
That's what it
is
is.
my station. So that's what I listen to all.
Okay.
I have, you saw my ear things.
Uh-huh.
Whenever I go out or do anything,
Okay.
I listen to NPR.
Do you get recognized quite a bit? I imagine you must. You must get recognized quite a bit when you're running around.
No,
Almost.
I don't.
Do you don't have to? Is it just an energy you put out, like a kind of a? You understand how to present yourself out in public, so you don't get bothered all the time.
No. I just think I'm just not that pretty anymore. I wondered about it because I'm on the Upper West Side.
She's trying to get me to fight with her now about that. I will say you're by far the prettiest one in the room.
No, but I don't think I look like I did in those movies in the 70s. So and so people just don't recognize.
None of us do anymore.
Aren't you that cute boy who took me down the steps?
Yes,
though?
I am though. Yeah, but that was even though it's like a good. Has to be about 10 years now.
Yeah,
somewhere near there.
Yeah, I knew you.
Do you have a favorite movie you made? These are just the light.
That I made?
These are the softballs now. Just curious, you have a favorite?
Well, I loved the combination of In the Heat of the Night and The Landlord.
Yeah.
I loved as an actor.
The Jewison
I
years.
That combo,
Yeah.
To do, which I was able to use so much of the pain I felt in the blacklist years.
Yeah.
And the death of my husband. And this is about losing a woman from Chicago,
right.
going to this dump and having her husband murdered.
Right.
With Sidney Poitier and Rod Steiger. The three of us just, bathing in this situation where you could say, look what you're doing. Look what you're doing to people. It was such a great stretch from the blacklist period to a situation that I could be acting in which I was reliving a lot of what had happened to me. And The Landlord, which was the movie I did right afterwards, where neither of them said that I could do it. They'd hired Jessica Tandy to do it because of what I looked like and what I played in the heat of the night. They said, you can't do it. We've hired somebody who's right for it.
Well, you were also too young for that role.
Huh?
You were too young for that role.
I was too young for that role.
You were playing Bo Bridges' mom, and you were only about...
Yes, but I...
How many years old?
But I
10?
knew that character. That character was my mother.
Yeah.
And so I put on a blonde wig, and I convinced them, and I'd never done that before or since, and said, nobody can play this part but me.
Mm-hmm. That was Ashby's first directed?
Yes.
Right? And Jewison produced it.
That was Jewison's
produced it, right.
gift to Hal Ashby.
Right.
It's his gift.
Al Ashby shot Heat of the Night.
No, he edited.
Oh, he edited, excuse me.
He was a great editor.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Okay.
He edited my first little film for AFI.
Oh, the one...
The Stronger. The one with Susan Strasberg.
Oh, it was Lee's daughter, too.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. Steiger, he was part of the group theater, too? Or is he
he was
after
He was
that.
Actors Studio.
Actors Studio.
Actors Studio.
Yeah, group was before. Maybe a generation or half a generation before.
No, it was the 30s.
Or were they concurrent?
The 30s.
The group
Odette's,
was. Right. Yeah. Was it... I was trying to think of a couple of the actors that came out of that, and I'm blanking on...
John Garfield.
Julius Garfield, that's what I was thinking.
Julius
Gershwitz
Garfinkel.
or Garfinkel. That's right.
And
Yeah.
and his daughter Julie is a very good actress and a very good artist.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And you're friends with her?
Yeah.
Now? That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a great answer, by the way. I asked you what your favorite. I appreciate that combination because I love those two. I don't want to. I love Shampoo as well, of course, but those two do. I was blown away.
Yeah.
By those.
Shampoo was a great lark.
Yeah.
It was so much fun, but I just gotten there. I had just done a soap opera, and there were these two guys. Giving me jewels.
Oh, you mean in the
Jewison and
right.
Ashby.
Yeah,
just whoa.
Yeah, but you held your own also in Shampoo. I'll say it.
Yeah.
Warren and Jack Warden.
Yeah. Jack Warden was such a great old friend. When I was working to get rid of the blacklisters in the Union, Jack Warden had just gotten out of the Navy, and he joined us, in trying to get rid of the blacklisters. So, he came, he lived in Malibu, so we were such long-time friends. We went through a lot of life together.
Yeah.
And then he played my husband in Shampoo, and it was so cool.
Yeah.
Goldie and Julie and, such beautiful girls.
And Carrie Fisher, of course.
And Carrie Fisher.
Yeah.
Carrie Fisher. Yep.
Another.
She was so beautiful. She couldn't have been more than 18, 19 at the time. I remember her skin, because she went, in the movie, she goes to play tennis. Mm-hmm. And there was no part of her that was tan.
She was very translucent.
It was like a shimmery white.
Yes.
And they put her in white.
Right.
I just got chills. Oh, I just got chills thinking of it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a girl.
I was very moved by the fact that she and her mom passed away within days of each other.
I know.
As heartbreaking as that is, it was also pretty heavy-duty kind of, thing that happened. I mean, right?
It was not easy.
Mm-hmm.
They did not have it easy. It was not easy.
Mm-hmm.
It was not easy.
Yeah, I know. I don't know, but I mean, I can imagine from the signs that you can read from their relationship, though they managed to eke out a relatively, it seemed like they managed to eke out a relatively healthy relationship at the end in those final years, but that there's obviously a lot of water under the bridge, and it seemed like Carrie maybe grew up with in an unsafe environment a good many years.
Yeah.
She was incredible. What a woman.
And
what a career.
the princess.
Yeah.
And the princess.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
What's the name of the movie?
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Starbucks.
Starbucks. Star Wars.
Well, she finally got Starbucks for being in the Star Wars movies.
But that's also not an unusual journey for actresses in Hollywood. Much more for actresses than for actors. To be the princess and to be fawned over and to be loved and to be worshipped and to be dumped.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. That's right. Right. It's a long history. That's kind of what I was getting at. Another benefit, if you can call it that, of your being blacklisted all those years, I'm going to explain myself, is that you miss that potentially happening to you, that same discarding.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
and I was
you would have
very
been
aware of that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure
I
you
was
were.
very aware that period.
Yeah.
If that was the swimsuit period in Hollywood when I was blacklisted.
Uh-huh.
That was
Betty Grable? Who are you talking? That was before you.
Betty Grable was before.
Yeah.
But who's the little girl who sang and went out on the beach in her bathing suit? Annette Funicello. That was the Annette Funicello years for teenagers, which is what I would have been,
Yeah.
when I went there.
So there was the male version, which was like the Rock Hudson and the Tab
Yes,
Hunter.
absolutely.
And,
I
and
did
the
not
female
fit
version.
into any of those formats.
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah.
So really, in a funny way, I had my education in the blacklist, and I went at the right time with the right people.
Maybe I think this was great.
Because it's on an
Doing-
upbeat note, isn't it?
Well, the upbeat note is you're funny. Well, we could say one thing is, what time is it? For some reason, my watch turned to Mickey Mouse, and I can't. It's harder to read that. What time are we at? Are we at 4:45? Is that possible? Oh, okay, that's good. Then we should wind it down.
You got plenty.
I have to go to
You
the
got
mall.
plenty of me.
I got amazing. Well, never enough, but I got plenty. The problem with doing these things is when you're trying to somebody who's been around for more than a couple of years, is that you can only be superficial. You can only get. But
I
think
don't
we
think
did better
this
than
was
that.
superficial.
No, I don't, and that's why I wanted to focus on.
I think you're a great reporter.
Oh, thank
I
you.
do.
Thank you.
Adam.
Well, thank you.
And
Appreciate
I
it. It means a lot to me.
and the feeling of feeling safe and wanting to impart it was there for me.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, that means a lot. That's what I wanted to do, and so I'm glad I was able to. But I also had a sense that you were going to be like that too. That you were going to be warm and a nurturing type. I just had a sense about
Sexy.
Sexy, vivacious, and you absolutely are. And
A flirt.
Love it all. I can walk you down any steps. Soon you'll be walking me down the steps, but that's another story. Anyway, thank you, Lee, so much. It was such a great chance, and I'll see you. I'll come to Film Forum for sure.
Yes.
For sure.
Oh gosh.
You're going to be in demand.
Honey, we've got a new life.
Yeah, another. Yeah, right.
Yes.
Those documentaries are streaming online, but then everything will be at Film Forum, I guess.
Yeah. Plus, you don't get Lee Grant is not streaming online.
No,
Not the person anyway. So you're going to be expected to go to the Film Forum quite a bit. You're going to be going
Absolutely.
riding the 2-3 down to Houston Street.
No, honey. No.
Down to West Houston.
No.
Okay.
I like taxis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I do too.
Although they're twice as much now. I mean, just absurd.
Last thing, do you ever do any acting anymore, or is that just no?
No.
Yeah.
You did a great voiceover recently.
Oh, okay. Oh, I imagine you.
What was it, honey?
It,
Oh, for you?
yes.
Oh, for your film?
Yes.
There's that. Yes, I
No,
do.
no. That's something that
Mhm.
I talked about in the book.
Oh,
that
I must have just blocked that part.
What?
I must have blocked that part because I wrote you a role, so I just.
Oh.
My first time. I'm 55, and I'm directing my first film. It's a comedy, and I wrote it, and it's a comedy, So
Yeah.
in the vein of like, now I'm going to screw it up. What's her name? She's probably a good friend of yours too. She's the director. She did Mikey and Nikki, of course, and
Elaine?
Cactus Elaine May.
Elaine?
Like in that kind of thing where you characters.
Who's going to win the Tony?
My fingers are crossed. I haven't seen it. I want to see it, but I heard such amazing. She's so good in it.
I'm going to be with her Sunday.
Oh, so you
So-
are. I was right. You are
Yeah.
obviously good friends, and so
Yeah.
she. I love her movies too. I mean, she's one of my favorites.
Oh my God!
Yeah. If
She's-
you can
she
get me
is
that, then I actually will.
an original.
I'll plug your run at the film forum if you can get me Elaine May. I don't think she would come on this podcast.
That's what I went to see when I ran into the guy and
Does she
said,
do-
"What about me?"
Oh.
But I went in to see her movie with Walter Matthau,
Cactus Leaf.
A New Leaf.
A New Leaf.
A New Leaf.
What was I thinking of?
Cactus Flower is a play.
Oh, okay.
But she wrote, directed,
Okay.
and starred in
Oh.
A New Leaf, and she's, too remarkable to there are no words for what.
She's
for
a
what she
genius.
did. She's
there's no doubt
she
about it.
She is an absolute
Right.
genius.
And
She is the freshest, most interesting
and so good. Everything she's so good.
Yeah.
She wouldn't do a podcast like this, I'm sure. I couldn't get her to do it.
I don't know.
You got to ask, right?
I don't
know who would handle that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was about to say
She's
something.
very private.
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
She really, really is.
So I got to find a place to walk her down some stairs. That's going to be tricky, but I'll figure it out. There's probably no stairs wherever the Tonys are. They're all in New York, so there's no stairs. So we'll just wind it down, and I'll say thank you so much. It was wonderful. This has been fantastic. One of my favorites ever.
It was
Thank
very
you.
intimate.
Yeah.
It was very.
It was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like you were an old friend.
Oh wow, great. Yeah, I had the same feeling though. I feel like I know you a little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
But I also had the advantage of reading your book. You haven't read-